Story recapped here. Today I'm gonna explain an action and horror film called Stalked. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. Commandos engineer and single mother Sam is free for the rest of the weekend and decides to leave her 5-month-old daughter Amy in the care of Craig, her ex-partner. That night, she plans on having a fun night out with her close friend Baroness, but suddenly she no longer wants to go, and they end up staying in while sharing a bottle of wine. The next day, Sam is about to have her morning run when Craig shows up to bail on taking care of Amy, who happens to be crying due to a high fever. Although disappointed, Sam takes the baby from Craig, and a few moments after, she calls her mom to ask for advice on how to treat and reduce the baby's fever. The look of distress is painted all over Sam's face as the baby cries irritably. Because Craig is an irresponsible father, she has to handle all this by herself. However, she needs to head out to buy some medicine, but she can't bring the baby with her as she hysterically cries when she's put in the stroller. Although hesitant, Sam leaves the baby at home and promises to be back in a hot minute. On her way to the pharmacy, Sam senses that something is odd and that someone is following her. True enough, an unknown person appears out of nowhere, covers her mouth, and knocks her unconscious. Later on, Sam wakes up alone in a secluded warehouse and immediately checks her phone, only to find that there's no service. Desperate and worried about her baby's condition, Sam quickly explores the place to find a way out and eventually discovers a door that leads to an abandoned military factory. Sam rushes to the factory exit and tries to open it, but it's securely locked. Suddenly, Sam hears a subtle noise and feels the presence of someone observing her from afar. So she grabs a piece of metal for protection and tries to see who's in the factory with her. However, she soon realizes that she's alone. Sam then tries breaking the door lock, but this time, she decides that it's hopeless and looks for another way out. With a piece of metal in one hand, she cautiously explores the factory to escape the place. After walking for some time, she finds a telephone and quickly raises it to her ear, but she immediately drops it after she feels the threatening presence again. As Sam stays vigilant in a corner, she catches a glimpse of a woman. At first, the woman is scared of her, but soon introduces herself as Stacy, mentioning that she's also been abducted, along with another girl named Kelly. Sam explains that she needs to get home to her baby, and she needs Stacy's cooperation. Together, they try to break the door down with a trolley, but to no avail. Having been injured, Stacy is quite exhausted, so Sam leaves her for a while to look for an alternative escape plan. Sam figures that a blowtorch can cut through the padlock, but they must first find where the gas canisters are stored. To get the job done faster, they decide to split up. Moments later, Sam finds a mysteriously placed blowtorch on the floor. Although she's hesitant, she slowly crouches down to reach for it, but it horrifyingly disappears and falls in another corner. She desperately tries to take it, but an unknown force prevents her from doing so, and she ends up leaving after hearing Stacy scream. She then returns to her meeting spot with Stacy, only to find her chained by the wrist. Sam quickly frees her from the chains, but Stacy suddenly has blood spewing out her mouth as she's been mysteriously stabbed in the stomach by an invisible attacker, and now it's coming for Sam. So Sam runs for her life and bangs on a locked steel door, begging for someone to let her out. Unfortunately, the attacker eventually catches up to Sam and chokes her, intending to kill her, but soon decides to let her live. Sam falls to the floor and takes a moment to catch her breath, but then immediately gets up and makes a run for it. She locks herself in the warehouse to prevent the invisible attacker from following, but it soon threatens to kill her baby if she doesn't step out. Left with no choice, Sam steps out of the warehouse and gets greeted with a punch in the stomach. Being a military woman, she fights back and lands a few blows on her attacker, but eventually loses against her invisible enemy. Even after this traumatizing moment, Sam's spirit doesn't break, and she continues to find a way out. By sheer luck, she discovers the invisible attacker's office and laptop with the factory's security footage and some oddly titled videos. As she investigates, she finds one video with a woman getting killed, and Sam thinks that she's a previous victim of the invisible attacker. Worried that she'll meet the same fate, Sam searches the attacker's desk for anything that'll help her escape. In her search for clues, she finds a paper titled Epsilon Military Solutions and discovers that the attacker is only invisible to the naked eye, but not on camera. She becomes too engrossed in her discoveries that she almost doesn't realize that the attacker is about to enter the office. However, she manages to hide under the desk just in time, and she doesn't get caught. Once the attacker leaves, Sam immediately gets out of her hiding spot and uses the laptop, not knowing that the attacker is observing her through the glass window. She quickly realizes her error and rushes to shut the door, but the attacker manages to barge in and forcefully slams her to the table. The attacker then cuts her arm with a sharp tool, causing it to bleed. Fear is apparent on Sam's face, but she bravely curses the attacker and says she isn't scared. Triggered, the attacker punches Sam in the face, but she spits on him to retaliate until the attacker finally decides to let her be and just takes the laptop before leaving. Once again, Sam looks for anything that can help her escape, and luckily enough, she finds a gallon of paraffin, some old clothes, a box of matches, cigarettes, and some rubber bands. She plans on creating an explosive that will act as a diversion while she goes back to retrieve the blowtorch that she failed to get earlier. Then, Sam's makeshift explosive works, and she executes the rest of the plan. To her relief, the padlock breaks, and she opens the door with so much hope in her eyes. However, the attacker knocks her unconscious before she even takes a single step outside. Later on, Sam wakes up on the floor and finds that her arms and legs are tied, so she squirms and screams in frustration as she can't set herself free from the ropes. The invisible attacker suddenly speaks and says that if she tries to escape again, the baby will die and that she needs to play the game. Then, Sam hears the sound of a blowtorch, and with it, the attacker purposely burns a small portion of her face, causing her to scream in pain. Despite being horrified with a bad burn, Sam tries her best to stay calm. The attacker leaves, and not long after, a young boy breaks into the factory through a disused ventilation shaft and immediately sees Sam lying on the floor. The boy then frees her, and Sam calmly explains the whole kidnapping situation. Seeing him as her only hope, she pleads with the boy to go and call the police for help so that they can come and rescue her. Although hesitant, the boy complies and leaves the factory. While Sam waits for the police, she sneakily hides in a small office near the entrance and discovers that the attacker, whose stealth suit is turned off, has brought in an unconscious woman. Not long after, the attacker checks on where Sam was tied and finds out that she broke free, also seeing that the ventilation shaft has been opened. After a long and arduous search for Sam, the attacker gives up and leaves the factory, thinking that she has successfully escaped. Tess, the attacker's newly abducted victim, is still sleeping on the floor, but immediately wakes up when Sam continually taps her face. Sam then explains her theory of how the attacker uses a military stealth suit that allows anyone to turn themselves invisible. After this, she convinces Tess to go through the ventilation shaft and scout the area for a potential escape route. As Tess looks around, she sees a canal and looks for a way to cross it, but to her surprise, she finds the lifeless body of the young boy who helped Sam earlier. He never made it to the police station, and he was shot in the forehead. Already mortified with the sight of a dead body, Tess is even more shocked as a gun-toting drone appears out of nowhere to shoot and chase her. Sam can no longer hear Tess, so she takes matters into her own hands by going back to the office near the entrance. Waiting for the attacker to enter the factory, Sam silently grabs her phone and observes the attacker's every move. They go around the factory, with Sam trailing behind, just waiting when to charge. Finally, they reach the entrance again, and now the attacker is standing cautiously with a sharp knife. With slow and sure steps, Sam approaches and hits the attacker with a blunt object, causing the assailant to drop the knife. Sam then quickly grabs the knife and stabs the attacker in the stomach. The attacker lies down and becomes weak for a minute, but quickly regains energy to kick Sam away. They get into a long and intense fistfight, but as a military woman, Sam's skills prove to be useful as she finally stabs the attacker again. This time, she goes for the kill. The attacker falls to the floor, so Sam grabs the keys and immediately runs out of the factory and gets into a van. However, the gun-toting drone appears and showers her with bullets, leaving her no choice but to quickly jump out of the vehicle before it explodes. The drone then chases her, but Sam manages to hide in a dark room. As she turns around, she is surprised to see that the attacker is standing in front of her. Puzzled with the lack of reaction from the attacker, she looks closer and finds out that it's just a stealth suit that turns invisible. She heads over to the computer and tries to access the internet, but as expected, she fails, and so she looks for other things that can help her. She then discovers a name tag that belongs to a janitor named Gavin Cutler, who works for the Epsilon Military Solutions. After this discovery, Sam dives deeper into the contents of the computer and finds videos from the military about a quantum stealth suit. Suddenly, Tess appears with an injured arm and explains that she escaped the drone by pretending to be dead. Sam then tells Tess that she killed the invisible attacker and that he is a janitor who stole advanced technology from the military. After this, Tess expresses that she would rather be in pain than go out there again. But with her baby alone and ill, Sam has no choice but to go out and use the stealth suit, which happens to be at 5%. As she opens the door, the drone floats vigilantly, and she slowly walks away from it. However, the suit runs low at 1%, and it eventually dies out just when Sam reaches the perimeter fence. Unfortunately, the drone recognizes this and quickly flies over to shoot her. Sam jumps over the fence with the drone behind her, but she trips and falls. The drone now hovers above Sam and attempts to shoot, but it runs out of bullets. Sam then throws a brick right at it, and the drone crashes to the ground. Meanwhile, the attacker goes to the room where Tess is hiding and doesn't think twice about killing her. Trying hard to catch her breath, Sam takes the suit off and calls the police, telling them what happened. Sam can't wait for the police while Amy's home alone, and luckily, she runs into a man with a car and asks him to take her to the military barracks, where her baby is. They soon arrive there, and Sam quickly barges into the house and cries while approaching her baby. Back in the car, the man is on the phone with his wife, who gets mad after he tells her that he just helped a kidnap victim, thinking he's just making up a story. After his wife ends the call, he takes a moment to look at his bloody stomach and briskly puts on the stealth suit in the back seat. It is then revealed that the man is the invisible attacker, Gavin Cutler, and once again, Sam and Amy are in the face of danger. Gavin then enters the house, but Sam hears the door creak, and so she takes a loaded gun and aims it at the empty hallway. Before she pulls the trigger, she declares that she's not afraid. With 8 continuous gunshots to the chest, the attacker lies dead on the floor, while Sam walks closer to him to unleash one last shot to his face.
Subscribe to watch more videos like this. Turn on notifications. And leave a like, it really helps the channel out. Thank you for watching.